That's better. So, I move my seat. I usually sit over in another area, but I usually film earlier in the day, and so the light's usually different. So I decided to move, and I had moved Miss Kitty Pants because she'd been laying in the sun, and now I feel bad. Go back and lay in your sunny spot, baby. She's old lady, and she likes to lay and toast her bones. Me, I'm getting to be an old lady, but I'm not an old lady yet. And I want to talk about the menopause. Guys, you go ahead and cover your ears. Or maybe you should watch. I don't know. All I know is that I feel bad now for every time I made fun of my mom when she was having a hot flash. And she said, someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. You can put clothes on, but I can't take clothes off. That's what she used to say. My mother. She'd be opening the windows in our house in the Detroit area in the middle of winter, and I wake up in the morning and the wet washcloths that we had hung over the top of the shower to dry overnight or whatever before you put them in the hamper, so they don't mold. You put them up there and they're hanging there, and they'd be frozen. They'd be frozen because she'd have the window open. Like, why is it so cold in here? You can put clothes on, I can't take clothes off. Woo! Well, I'll tell you, opening a window doesn't do anything for it. So, you know what? that was just torturous. So, I've taken to carrying a fan with me, and
Kitty Pants, are you making a rude gesture, or do you just have an itch? Just have an itch.
okay, well, it's been a while since I've done a video like this. I think I might make another episode. I'm doing this little experiment because I have suspected that someone has somehow been intercepting video media that I'm in the process of working on when I have things captured on my phone, right? And so that's why I haven't made an episode in a while, and because I wanted to see just how much of what I talked about privately and didn't even publish or formally upload to YouTube was referenced. Anyway, I'm certain of it now. I'm 100% certain of the fact that my media is intercepted and seen by some unknown third party and somehow distributed. Anyway, beside the point. Talk about observation. I was thinking last night, we have this election coming up, and I don't know, there's something that you can do as an American that I'm not sure is available to do in other countries. I don't know that it isn't, but I don't know that it is. I just know that it is here in the United States, and that there's probably a lot of Americans that don't realize this. You can, as an American, it is your right not just to vote, but to observe the vote and observe the count of the vote and participate even in the count of the vote. And I've done this on two occasions. It's really, really interesting process. It's a volunteer kind of thing. You have to set aside a big chunk of time. I mean, if you're going to do this, and so the count of the vote. So I observed the count of the vote, and you do this at the county registrar of voters, the main hub in your county. I did this in Santa Rosa, as in Santa Rosa County up there, or Sonoma County, excuse me, not Santa Rosa County, Sonoma County. Sonoma County the registrar is it's in Santa Rosa. And so I went there when the first initiative, cannabis initiative, was on the statewide ballot. And I can't remember what the name of that prop was. You all know the last time it was on the ballot. And so I was up there, and I wanted to observe the count. I actually participated in the count, and I did that through volunteering, a volunteer sign up with a woman who was running for office up there at the time, Julie Combs, who's a really nice lady, and she's been elected. I think I saw signs up there that she's up for re-election. Julie's a nice person. I met her as a person, not as a politician. I met her as a person. She's a nice person. I like her. I remember she had these combs, and she wrote in glitter pen, vote Combs, and she passed out these combs. I was like, oh, you're a funny lady. I like you. But anyway, she had extended this invitation. She's like, hey, you want to observe this, be part of this vote count? So I did. And, being part of that count, like there were like 10 of us in a room, 8 or 10 of us in a room, and we had all these stacks, and we had a chunk of time that we were going to work in, and we had to count so many of these cards. And so I got to do that. I got to count. It was specifically, a big portion of it was counting the vote on that initiative. And just touching all of those ballots, and like you have a tablet, you take notes about anything that is said or happens in the room. If somebody farts, you got to write that down. So and so farted in the room. I mean, like it's a really serious thing, and you count them off, and you have keep these little hash marks, and like it's serious. You're not allowed to have like extracurricular conversation or anything. So that was really interesting, and made me really feel connected, even more connected to the process of voting and elections in my country. And then the second time that I observed the vote being delivered was right after we first moved here to Oakland. It was in during the mayoral race, and I remember I wanted to see this so badly because, I wanted to see where all these votes were going, and anyway. So I went down there. You can just show up and say you want to observe, or did I have to sign up? I think I may have had to sign up. You might have to sign up and make an appointment to do it. I can't remember. Anyway, I was down there. I got to see all the votes coming in, and they were dumping them into these big, out of the boxes. They would dump the boxes into these big containers, and the big canvas containers you see in post offices, that kind of, I mean, they're not huge, not bigger than me, but, big tubs. They're moving all the votes around and everything, or the packets and things, and I didn't stay to see them start sorting them. They were going through some sort of sorting process. I don't know if they were putting certain districts together or what it was, or how they were being ordered, or what the deal was, but there was some sort of system. They were some went to some bins and some went to others. So I was watching this, and all that hustle and bustle. That's really, really interesting. All down in the basement of the building, in the bowels of the building. I would have stayed longer. I would have stayed because you could sit down to observe. You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to record. You're just allowed to observe. And I was gonna do that. But I wasn't feeling well. I had this big, nasty cold sore, and I had a bit of a fever, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to be around all these people and exposing them to whatever it was. I had some sort of bug. I don't know what it was. Went away. But I got to see that, and there was one other person. There was only one other person, some guy from some lobbyist group. He was there, and he was like when we were checking in to be herded into the area that they had roped off. They had all these chairs kind of roped off where you were supposed to sit and observe while all the other workers had their gloves on. There's this other guy, and the guy that was herding us in, he and this other guy, they had a relationship already. It was funny. And the guy that was herding us in, he was from the federal government. I mean, they have people there observing that kind of thing and seeing. It was funny. I have this pin that says, has the White House seal on it, and I have this leather trench coat that I bought secondhand. Really nice coat. Anyway, I put the pin on the lapel on my black leather trench coat. But he gave it to me then, and because he and this guy were having some back and forth. I don't know. They had some history, and And I'm just standing there watching, like, okay, where we're supposed to sit. And so the guy finally, the guy from the federal government, he turns to me, he goes, and who are you with? And I said, I'm with myself. I said, I'm just a citizen. I said, I just recently moved here, and I wanted to make sure that everything here was copacetic. And he looked at me, he goes, really, who are you with? And I said, I'm not with anybody. And I said, sometimes I go to church. He just looked at me, and he opened up his blazer, a little pocket in there. He pulled out this little, plastic package with the pin in it, and he's like, "You deserve this. Here you go." And then this other guy who he'd been with, he says, "What about me?" He's like, "I got kids." And he looks at me and he goes, "No pin for you." He walked away. He goes, "I don't have any more," or something like that. It was fine. That guy was irritated. He stomped off. He went and sit next to me. I sat and observed for about an hour and a half. But I could have stayed all the way up through, I think, like 2 a.m. or something. And that's what, then there was like another shift of people that was, Anyway, really, really interesting thing to do, interesting thing to see. And I'm not sure that to observe the vote as it comes in the way I did here, I'm not sure that you have to be a registered voter to do that. Or even a citizen. I think you have to be probably a resident alien. And I'm using that term because that's like what's on the green card, resident alien. Depending on what your visa or your status is. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. But it was interesting to see. Really, really interesting to see. Democracy in action. The numbers. Be one of the watchers. The watchers of the numbers. Thinking about whether or not I'm going to go to church today. I mean, I'm really, really grateful. We're getting some rain here. It's been. I woke up this morning. I had to go bring my flag in because my flag was getting wet. And had I realized that we were going to be getting so wet today, I would have brought my flag in last night before I went to bed. Oh. Flag's a little bit wet. I gotta dry it, but I don't know. Last time this happened, because this happened one time before, I had to take the flag off, and the only place that I have in the house that's high enough to hang it so that it doesn't touch the ground, because oh my goodness, you're not supposed to let your flag touch the ground. But the only place I have to do that is on my mantle, my fireplace mantle. But right now I have my fireplace mantle covered in pumpkins for the fall holidays. And I can't put the flag up there right now. So it's still rolled up and it's standing, so it's not touching the ground, but it's still wet and I don't want it to get moldy. I don't know, like, what am I supposed to do to take care of that flag? When it stops raining, I'll hang it back out and let it air itself out. But right now it's raining. I'm so grateful for that. And I should go to church and, offer prayers of thanksgiving, right? I mean, and I like going to church. I like being able to sing. I mean, I don't know, singing at church. Singing at church is different than like performance singing. And I go to church, that's sacred space and this idea. I don't know. Sometimes when I feel like, because sometimes people will clap and they'll say nice things to me, and it's not that I don't like hearing nice things. It's not that I don't like hearing, oh, you have such a pretty voice or whatever. It's like, whatever. I mean, thank you. Yes, I like to hear, but it's really hard. It's really hard in church because it makes me feel. I mean, I suppose you go up to the priest and say, it was a great homily. I really enjoyed that homily. If it's a homily that specifically moved you or whatever, but even that, it's like, I don't know. It's a satisfaction, a gratification that I wrestle with on an ethical and moral level. I don't know. One time when I did this training with the IAF, the Industrial Areas Foundation, right? They're this organizing group, and I asked to apply to work for them, and they told me no thank you. So thank you, but no thank you. So whatever. I guess they didn't like me. but I did a training. I did a community organizing training with them, and they were talking about this idea of praxis. And as an artist, as a visual artist, or as an artist who creates media, whatever media that's in, there's this layer of consciousness, reflection, of decision making in the creative process of making something, whether it's like I said, video media, music media, painting, sculptures, garments, whatever. There's a creative process of judgment that goes on, putting this here, taking this away from here, cutting this here, and so when we talked about this idea of praxis, it wasn't foreign to me. It was like, oh, this is just a praxis. It's about engaging critical thought. But the idea of engaging praxis in everything you do, that's something else altogether, right? But I started to really engage that in a more conscious way. It's harder when you approach life that way, from this position of praxis, which means that you're constantly aware of a level of discernment, and discernment is the conscious engagement of the conscious engagement of your conscience, right? And your conscience is informed by your morals and your ethics, your and your values. And those things are influenced by, what your belief systems are. And so for me to sing at church, which happens because I feel moved, I sing when I feel moved to sing, and I love to do it. When I do it, it does feel good. And I have some really traumatic memories and things attached to singing as well. And so it's something that in my praxis of song, when I sing in church, for me that's prayer, because that's a conscious worship space. I don't walk into a church to perform. And so I really enjoy going to church, and I enjoy singing, and I know other people enjoy when I sing at church. And when I feel like it's getting to be a performance space, or maybe confused with performance, I have to step back from it and examine my own motives. And this week I've been doing that. I've only been into church once, and yes, I sang, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the service. And because even if I don't agree with everything that the priest says, I am grateful for there to be some place where I can practice praxis. That's why I value the daily mass, and why sometimes I don't go. Also, if I feel like I can't be fully present, and I'll tell you, I'm getting older. I'm 37 years old. I'll be 38 in January, and I am definitely experiencing the menopause. And first couple days of my cycle, I know this is going to be TMI, but I think if women were allowed to talk about this in a respectful way, in a public way, they'd remove this mystification and stigmatization of what goes on in this, in this body, what happens with this temple the older it gets, and menopause runs kind of early in my family. That's just a genetic thing, and I'm even a little bit earlier than a lot of women most women in my family, because, and I believe it's because when I was a teenager, I was exposed to, I was made to take medication, I was put on medications that that made me sick, and I think that the extra early onset of my menopausal symptoms come from that exposure, because it wasn't just, it was hormones and chemicals. It was a combination of things. I was on hormones for a very long time. That, and I just my whole system. I got my first bra when I was in second grade. I had my first period when I was 9 years old. So it's like that's early. That's early, And by the time I was in fifth grade, I had giant breasts. It was weird, and I was still a year younger than everybody in my class. And I don't know. So the menopause. Oh, some mornings it's like I just lay there and I can feel myself bleed. Do you feel yourself bleed? And I feel it squirting out of me like there's like a water pistol. Squirt, 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 squirt. It's like, it's like, how does that happen? It's like, I can feel the contractions of my uterus. And the blood's just squirt, 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 squirt. And it's like, oh my goodness, I stand up. Am I going to squirt all over the place? When I go into the bathroom, I've had this happen where I squirted all over the bathroom. And it's kind of gross. It's like, oh my goodness. You want to talk about gory Halloween stuff? There you go. You want blood and guts? It's blood and guts. Blood and guts. So, when that's happening, I don't even like leaving the house. Because, nowadays I'm just like, do I need to carry with me an entire change of clothes? You think about it. You sit down on the toilet, squirt. I'm going to squirt it all over my pants. Unless my pants are all the way down around my ankles. And if I'm in a public place, I might not want to put my pants on the floor. And I certainly don't want to leave a bloody mess for some unsuspecting maintenance person to have to clean up, and I don't want to smear it all over the place, and nobody else wants to see blood all over the place. I mean, right? Ask a Syrian refugee. Nobody likes seeing blood smeared all over the place. No matter how it got there. Saw this thing, the Nigerian president made some comment publicly recently that a woman's place is in the kitchen. Really, dude? Really, dude? You're gonna make that comment? Is that the swap you made with Boko Haram to get those 20 girls back? I mean, I know they're saying that there was no swap, but there had to have been some sort of negotiation. That's what a negotiation is. Did you say you were going to enforce, because that's the whole idea, is that that's what Boko Haram means, is that Western education forbidden or sinful, right? So if you're saying that a woman's place is in the kitchen, that's going counter to education, right? A woman's place is in the classroom. A woman's place is in the House and the Senate. A woman's place is in the public eye as much as it is in the privacy of her home. Let me tell you, I enjoy cooking. I enjoy it. The kitchen is an extension of the studio for me, right? But it's not because I'm a woman. It's because I'm good at it. There's guys that are good at it too. Oh, but when guys do it, when guys are good at cooking, they get called chefs. Then they chef. A woman who's good in the kitchen, she's just a cook, right? She's your mama. People are so diverse, and it's not sinful to not be like everybody else. I love John Stuart Mill. Love on John Stuart Mill on Liberty. Love it. Really dense little, I don't know, I've read a lot of little books that are like giant encyclopedias condensed down into, these talk about big ideas in a concise manner. John Stuart Mill on Liberty. And, sometimes you'll be like, oh, this seems so verbally floral when you're reading it, but once you get a picture of what it is that he's talking about, it's like, whoa, I can't believe you said all of that in that small a space. Dude, that is serious. And congratulations to Bob Dylan, to Mr. Zimmerman. I'll be calling him Mr. Zimmerman because that's his given name, but you know, he's lived his life and his career as Bob Dylan. And even if you don't like Bob Dylan's music, which, you know, aesthetically, you know, music is an aesthetic choice, what you like, right? And what you can appreciate. I don't own any albums. I've never, you know, but I've listened to Bob Dylan quite a bit, and I you know a few of his songs and things. And the man is a poet. The man truly is a poet. And I agree with Bob Dylan on the message of his poetry on the proliferation of war. I have dance rehearsal today. I'm working on this piece. To perform, the piece is going to be called Pacifism. I have settled on that. That's because that is the theme. That is the core concept behind the piece that I'm building. And it's a dance piece. It's a movement piece. And I've chosen the music, or I'm narrowing. I have 3 pieces of music that I want to use either parts or all of. And as I work through blocking, I'll choose that. It's going to be 2 of these 3 songs. I just haven't. Anyway, it's a Zen flute duet, so it's just 2 instruments, and the sound it's very minimalistic music, and I like this idea of looking at nonviolence, looking at pacifism, because pacifism is more than just nonviolence, right? Pacifism is a conscious choice to not engage in battle, to not engage in war. That's what pacifism is. It's a different thing. It's you know, the way somebody chooses to pick up a weapon and go to war, pacifism is making a conscious choice to not pick up a weapon and go to war. And I've been dancing with a sword. I have this sword it was a sword that was forged in Pakistan. It's a scimitar. It was forged in Pakistan, but it's not an Islamic sword. It has not been stamped or blessed. So this is just a sword. But I like the shape of the sword, and these scimitars are great for doing balancing work, and it's a real weapon. You know, I've done some dancing before with a sword, and it was a prop sword. It's very beautiful sword, but it was a prop sword. It wasn't a functional weapon. This is a weapon, and weighs about 7 pounds. It's a heavy sword. It's a significant piece of metal, and so the work I'm doing is dangerous. And Wednesday, my rehearsal, I almost cut my finger off. I almost cut off the tip of my pinky finger with that sword, because I've been concerned over. I decided to try to rehearse to balance the sword without a head wrap, and because I didn't want anybody to be like, oh, is she holding the sword on her head with that head wrap? And the answer is yes and no. The thing doesn't hold the head wrap. My wrapping that I put on the turban that I wrap on my head doesn't hold the sword. There's nothing that's holding the sword. Trust me, there's nothing that's holding the sword in place. But the fabric covers my hair, because my hair is, I have really fine hair. I don't have thin hair. I have fine hair, and I have a lot of it, and it's actually quite silky. And the sword, it's metal, and it slides. It slides. I need the traction of the weave of the fabric to keep it from sliding. Balance is something else. And so I spent the day or I spent the time working on, so the balance, I can do all of the steps without the head wrap on, but what's challenging is that my hair is slippery, so any kind of movement is, and the sword came off my head, and I went to grab it, and you go to grab it from the bottom, but the blade had already started to tip, and I grabbed the blade side of the scimitar with the tip of my finger, and it's almost knit back together now, but it was pretty deep, and it bled, it squirted, and it also cut into my hand here and here, and I mean, it was quick too. And the sword is not sharpened to, like, it's not sharpened all the way. It's not even sharpened all the way. So I'm supposed to rehearse today. I have time today. Should I go to church and pray over that? I'm praying about it right now. Do I need to go to church to pray to do that? No, I don't need to go to church to pray to do that, but I like being in the presence of the Eucharist. Whether or not I go to communion or not, there is something special for me about being in the presence of the Eucharist, and that happens during the transubstantiation, what's in the tabernacle. I could just walk into the church and go sit in the presence of the tabernacle for a while. I could do that, but I'd go all the way over there to do that. And I think about it too much, I think. Anyway, I'm really glad that those 20 Chibuk girls were women. Women. They were girls when they were in the classroom. They're women now. And not because they had sex, but because they've been through a trauma that'll age you, that really stole some of their youth. Very happy for them. Very happy for them to be free. And I'm very sorry. I read that some of the girls that have been released have been shunned by their family because of cultural stigma around being an unmarried woman with a child, and especially an unmarried woman with a child to somebody who was a terrorist or an enemy of some sort, an adversary. I'm so sorry, ladies. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm glad that you are free, and I pray for peace for you and your child or children, and that whatever choice you discern, whether you choose to continue to raise the child yourself or give children up for adoption, I pass no judgment. I pass no judgment, and I just pray for all of your highest good to be served, and that those other young women are released, and that men stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense. Ladies are all willing to help make the world go round. You don't need to do these nasty, nasty things. And if you got a son who's good at working in the kitchen, there's nothing wrong with your son working in the kitchen.